Um, what? Live streaming isn't available right now? Fuck you. I don't know what. Okay, I'm sure I'm streaming right now despite the error message I saw, because that's what it does. Well, I'm just gonna say this. I'm not messing up as bad as Paizo did when their Gen Con stream took 40 minutes to start this morning. With their keynote.
We are live officially.
Okay, good thing you tell me that, because YouTube isn't. Okay, good. All right, so I have SwingRipper for 2 hours. I have an agenda. I'm going to be managing time strictly because there's a lot to cover. But first we need to shoot the shit a bit, as is our want.
Yep.
Today's the first day of Gen Con, and lots of big news today. Oh, I am Ronald, the rules lawyer. Y'all know me, blah, blah, blah. SwingRipper, who are you?
I'm the grapple guy. I have my own channel, but people know me as the guy that pushed the wrestler archetype to the point where it kind of became its own meme.
Yes.
And that's what I'm mostly known for. But I make a lot of optimization guides for Pathfinder. You can check me out. I'll probably post a link to my channel once the stream gets close to ending.
And what did you just do recently? You did a party that cannot lose
I did
test.
the party that cannot lose test, where they went up into 3 extreme fights, but it's a whole thing. And chat is saying that I'm echoey.
Oh no, this is what I tried to remove. Okay. Is it any better now?
I can keep on talking.
Okay, testing, say testing.
So
occasional.
basically what I was doing is
So how's that, chat?
Go through and have them go through 3 extreme encounters, and also I think we're on a 40-second delay. So
it's the same. Oh, it's a 40-second delay. Crap, chat.
Because Ron has his mic very close to the face right now. It'll move away soon, but
I know it's not me echoing, it's Sean. I'm just gonna have to lower Sean's volume. Why does this happen only sometimes?
If you
the problem's not me, Sean, it's you.
If you live stream your OBS settings, I can try and help you diagnose it later. That's a whole thing we're gonna need to do later.
Okay, I'll just need to not talk while you're talking so I can hear your very low volume self. I assume the echo is better now because I have you at like volume 1 of 10. So go ahead and continue what you were saying.
All right, so anyway, what I did is I had a group of people go through 3 extreme encounters, and we either won or lost. You're gonna need to check out my channel to figure out what happened. I also have an analysis of what happened in each of those fights, what could have been done more efficiently, what caused the spikes to happen, and yeah.
Okay, testing sound level since I'm getting a new complaint that I'm too loud. How's this?
Yeah, no, that was just as soon as you move the mic closer to your face, it's gone now. I hear it as well.
And does Sean echo? Give me complain or say good. Okay, things are looking better. Okay. I assume everybody knows me, so I won't introduce myself. Just look at my channel, damn it. Gen Con news, things that stood out to me. I only saw the live play notes. Oh, I apologize. I don't remember the Redditor on the subreddit who typed these out. Very cool dude who kept us all posted. The things that stood out to me, of course, is the crunch. Of course, the rules lawyer is interested in crunch. War of Immortals that comes out, I believe, in October. We'll have the Animist and the other one, Exemplar classes. And we learned about mythic points, which you can spend to give yourself +10 on a check.
Ooh.
And that there's a class...
hero points. And also chat saying I should be a little bit louder, like twice as loud as I currently am.
Okay, I'm going to turn up... Okay, all right. I'm turning you up some on my OBS. Oh my god, this is so annoying.
I don't know.
And okay, no, I don't want the complaints to stop. We want to better serve you, dear viewers. The other things that stood out to me is that War of Immortals will have a class archetype for the fighter called the Warrior of Legend, who what is it? Oh, I can't even read my own notes. What do you remember, Sean?
It would give the fighter more power, but at some kind of cost. Think Achilles.
Oh yeah. It sounded very like Greek heroes themey. Like you'll have a weakness.
So
The example they gave was having a spear, and that you could channel something they called Doom into your attack, whatever that was. Right. Then there's some new books coming out. Something called Divine Mysteries, I believe, Lost Omens, which is supposed to be a redoing of Gods and Magic post-remaster without the alignments. There's a class archetype for the Cleric called the Battle Harbinger, which sacrifices some spellcasting power for more fighting. One of the upcoming books will have an investigator with a class archetype, the third class archetype. Sounds like this is territory they're going to explore more. The Palatine Detective, who will have some spell casting. And I have to mention, one of the books mentioned a magical girl archetype called Starlit Sentinel. I might have to re-record a certain video. Okay. Anything from Gen Con you want to share? I know Sean has been in Starfinder 2e PDF land.
I have done nothing but read the Starfinder 2 book for the past 6 hours.
Awesome. Okay.
I made myself some tater tots, barely touched them after. I just read more Starfinder.
Absorbing data. All right, we'll definitely get to Starfinder, I promise you all. But I want to give an overview now of what Starfinder is. Say it again, Sean.
There's a lot of ways that you could actually absorb data in like various ways, but that's later in the discussion. I was just
okay. I'm not sure I want to know. Okay. All right. So Starfinder 2e is the second edition of the science fantasy game, originally released by Paizo 2017. It is touted to be fully compatible with Pathfinder second edition. And from my reading, I would agree. Right, Sean?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they made specific notes that the expectations of where certain abilities are, like particularly with regards to senses and mobility options, are a lot more open.
Mm-hmm. And they put out the free PDF today, which is like a beta. There's a playtest period. There are 4 different surveys that they're putting out. The game feedback survey, class open response survey, and adventure feedback survey. The playtest closes at the end of the year, December 31st. They are releasing an adventure. I don't know if it's already out. Cosmic Birthday, a first level adventure. And in October 23rd, they're going to release a 10th level adventure. Both of them have to do, the first one has to do with the birth of a new god. The adventures are actually not free this time. You need to pay for them, which honestly, I'm like, for playtest purposes, I saw some people complaining you have to pay to playtest. But I'm like, if I'm a developer, I want to hear from the most committed people anyway. The people more likely to spend money. And they're also saying that these are not stress tests. They already have the core math figured out. And so these are in the vein of the polished adventures with original artwork that they have been publishing up through now with Pathfinder. And I'm actually curious. I'm checking. They said it would be 64 pages. This first level, 64 pages. This first level adventure, which actually makes it the size of the Rusthenge module. One of my complaints about Starfinder First Edition was that all of their adventures seem to be slimmer than Pathfinder ones, and I think that they're not doing that this time, which makes me happy. They're playtesting 6 classes. There are only 6 classes in the core rulebook. We'll get to that versus the 7 in First Edition. Here, showing my street cred, I'm a longtime Paizo player. I ran Starfinder First Edition.
Your mic is very close to your face, so it's peaking.
Get it away from my face and not too close to the speakers. Okay, blah blah blah.
There you go. You're good.
Okay, and what was I gonna say? Oh, there's gonna be 2 classes, the Mechanic and Technomancer, that they'll start a playtest in January. So that's my. Oh, and also there already is a Foundry module. If you run Pathfinder 2nd edition on Foundry, you can start using all of the content in this PDF now. There's a module called Starfinder Playtest. And so it's going to have all of the classes, all the feats, all the new spells that you can just plop into your Pathfinder or Starfinder game, or hybrid of the two. yeah, I just want to get that out there. I know those were the burning questions for me. And also there's a deluxe Foundry module for these adventures too that I'm interested in looking in. I might run it on my side channel. Anything you want to add about Starfinder overall before we get to the meat?
I never played Starfinder 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's my next topic. It's demonstrating what our knowledge is of Starfinder and how we are not full authorities. Okay, Sean and I were in one campaign that did a field test of the soldier class,
Yes.
but there are sure to be people out there who have more in-depth knowledge of all of the discussions that have taken place around the Starfinder 2nd Edition field tests. Also, Sean has little familiarity with Pathfinder 1st Edition. He had a bad experience with Pathfinder 1st Edition, in fact. Feel free to rant
Thanks,
a bit,
Ron.
Sean. Add some spice and engagement to our channel.
So basically what happened is I spent like 3 hours indexing a list of combat feats because I was playing the Pugless, which is like the monk fighter hybrid class that would let you spend all of your movement to then be able to pick a feat. Just pick a feat that you meet the prerequisites for. Just get it for the combat, basically. And so I indexed out the list of all the feats that I might want to pick. And, huge list, whatever.
Yeah, and you
Anyway.
color spray knocked you out.
No, it was actually a ghoul. A ghoul then still knocked me, and I died. instantly.
Well,
I
Starfinder
got
First
so much.
Edition was kind of like a 1.6. There's Pathfinder Unchanged, but Starfinder introduced some concepts that were then used. They were in tentative form that were then used in 2nd Edition Pathfinder, and now it's catching up. So, yeah, I played Starfinder First Edition for a couple of years, and then 2nd Edition Pathfinder came around and consumed my interest. So I have experience with that. So I'll be able to give some comments about. Now I hear that SwingRipper is a bit quiet compared to me. I'm gonna lower mine, and you viewers now turn up your volume. And what was I gonna say? So I'll inject what I know. Okay. All right, we're now at 5:14. Now let's get into the meat. Here is the Starfinder playtest rulebook. We both reviewed it. Sean has done, I don't know how he does it, but he's apparently read the book today.
I skipped over some spells and a lot of the class feats, but I have a basic understanding of the concepts.
Okay. And after waking up at 4:30 a.m. for a court hearing, I took a nap and then, did what I could to prepare. So we've done some preparation. We didn't want to just give like, oh, what the hell? What's that? Oh my God, kind of video. We want to provide a resource. So we're going to do our best to summarize what we found today, and try to be useful to you, dear viewers. So here's our table of contents. It's what you'd expect. Oh, this presumes you have the Player Core 2, the Player Core book, and the GM Core book. They don't repeat any of the basic rules. Again, it's fully compatible with the Pathfinder system. You can think of this if you are running in a fantasy setting and are willing to incorporate science fantasy elements as an expansion pack to a Pathfinder game, adding more ancestries, classes, and spells, and equipment, and cybernetic enhancements. We'll go over all of them. And my plan is to save what everyone's waiting for most last, classes, and we'll go through everything else in order. So on Ancestries, I mean, you should just share, Sean, what you... Oh, you know what, though? I actually want to ask this first. I want to go through the classes and read them out and do a poll and find out what people are most interested in hearing more about, and we'll kind of like maybe spend more time on it in this stream, or maybe future content that we do. But the Envoy, I'm sure both pronunciations are acceptable. Oh, I'm going to point out that
Not
they
to
have
Reddit.
six... Huh?
I don't know which one is acceptable, but they won't be acceptable to Reddit. We're gonna get
No.
lambasted for our pronunciations every time.
I'm gonna say both are okay, and if you say one is the correct one, there's a stick up your ass you got to take out. Okay, there are 6 classes, one for each attribute. I'm gonna point out something I observed. That was a rules lawyer observation. Okay, the Envoy is a charisma-based class that combines battle direction and leadership. Lacking any sort of built-in spellcasting, they let players live the fantasy of supporting allies without the need of magic. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just read the start. Mystic forming bonds with the Mystic forms bonds with their closest allies. Is a wisdom-based class that fulfills the role of battlefield healer and spellcaster. The Operative is a dexterity-based class, all about being the best at their field of specialization, as well as one of the best damage dealers in combat. The Solarian, a Solar Knight, is a strength-based class that channels the various states of stars while on the battlefield. The Soldier is a Constitution-based class that combines an area weapons expert with a mountain of hit points. The Witchwarper is an intelligence-based class that alters reality by drawing on the infinite possibilities of other universes and timelines. Now, say whatever you want, Sean, while I make this poll.
All right, so I generally think that all the classes are pretty interesting, and I'm going to save strong opinions on each of them for later. But I will say that I have some ideas on these things.
Oh,
And I think that one of them may be in contention for strongest class printed.
I just realized polls can't let me have more than 4 options, which sucks.
I was going to mention that.
All right.
But I thought you had a plan.
I don't. I don't. You can't have more than 1 poll active either.
You just complained about polls only having 4 options, and then you said you were going to make a poll for all the classes. So I'm not...
Yeah, well, you know how it is when you're multitasking. Well, in the next 30 seconds, spit out what class you want to hear most about then, chat. You have 30 seconds.
Type it in there.
We're looking at single word responses because we can't read it all too quick. Okay. Yeah, let's get to the Ancestries. My first question for myself, okay, they are... where's the list?
I'm just looking at the list in the table of contents.
Yeah. Okay, they're the Android. Okay, I'm just going to show them on screen. The Android, I'm going to assume, from what I saw, it looked, at least its base features reminded me of the Pathfinder Android.
Yes.
The Barathu, jellyfish-like beings that...
Before we move on from Android, it does actually have the Pathfinder Android heritages as options in addition to new stuff.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. There'll be like an asterisk saying, you know, or something saying, you know, you can use the things in Pathfinder.
Yeah.
From my skim, it looks to me like Witchwarper has the preponderance. Would you say?
I agree. It seems like Witchwarper, by sentiment, is the one people are most excited to read about.
I will look at all of the votes later, though, however, when I assess like what I might cover. Okay, next ancestry is human. No big surprises here. There's more heritages, including being a Golarian survivor.
Yep.
You somehow predate the gap, which is the time period where nobody has any record of anything. And also the planet of Golarian no longer exists. It's now replaced by Absalom Space Station.
Family histories.
Oh, wait, Sean, you should know that when you talk, I can't hear you because your volume's really low.
How else am I supposed to interject for witty banter?
Oh, that's true. Well, I guess the audience will get to hear it. My stupid Bluetooth situation. Do you want to repeat it, or is it awkward to repeat it now?
I mean, basically, I was just saying that with the Golarian Survivor, it gives you training in all archaic weapons, so you can have the flick mace art that was passed down through the generations of humans.
Okay. Okay, this was my big question. How do they handle multi-armed ancestries? The Kasatha is our 4-armed dude. Basically, think of them as in a video game where you have a loadout in your hands, and you could just click a button, have a different loadout. Basically, you have 4 arms as a Kasatha. and you can spend one action to do the switch active hands action to switch to another pair. So that's how that works. So no improved action improved action economy if it's like, I mean, there is improvement in action economy if you have two discrete sets that you want to switch between efficiently. Yes. And the Skittermander, our 6-armed ancestry, can have 3 pairs.
For what I would do with those is I would have sets of hands be different potions, scrolls, whatever, and then a main offense hand slot. Or I would have my main offense hand slot and be able to swap into 2 pistols at the same time.
That's cool.
So that's how you'd use it, as opposed to just like a normal swap action. Because it lets you swap between 2 different things in your hands to 2 different other things. So it's 2 swaps at once.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you should, for a single action. That's how you should evaluate it.
We have the Lashunta, which in first edition Starfinder, they had this dimorphic. They had 2 different, very physically different types. I see they look like those are preserved in the heritages. Okay. The Patra, which is a new ancestry, new core ancestry. I assume they existed in the bestiary for Starfinder. They look like cat people. Shows you how little I know. I don't know what else to say. Oh, apparently they rebelled against the Vesk. They're not the Uncle Tom sellouts that the Skittermanders are. There could be Skittermander lovers who are going to be objecting, but that's my very shorthand way of saying that they come from the same origins as the Skittermanders, but they're more rebellious. I love Skittermanders. The Shirin are our insective-like race, who I think have 3 genders or something. Skittermander, they're the mascot of Starfinder.
Yep.
And our Vesk, which are like space orcs. Very shorthand. I have to speak in Pathfinder speak because half of our viewers are not familiar with Starfinder, according to the initial poll. And the Yosoki, also called rat folk in Pathfinder. I'm going to lament the loss of some cool abilities that they had in first edition. Oh, they had something called Moxie. There was a condition in first edition Starfinder where you could be like off kilter and upside down, and the Yosoki were never off kilter. They can like be just as effective all upside down, and they could kip up basically as a without provoking reactions. That was cool, but I don't see them here. I assume they live in Feats.
Yeah.
And then we have 2 versatile heritages. The Borai, someone who is a undead but not. You actually do not have void healing as a Borai. You are a corpse reanimated with a soul. And then you have the Prismeni, who have a connection to the Drift, which is how very far space travel happens in the Starfinder campaign setting. It's like this other dimension. I don't know if I'm describing it accurately, if we're using the right words, but basically, you're basically able to find within 100 miles drift beacons, drift engines, and while you are and if you can pilot a ship that's not equipped for the drift, you can make it work. So that's what I have to say about the Ancestries. Any other things you want to add?
You basically covered everything I wanted to really say. The stuff that I'd want to highlight is that the weird mutant ancestry that it just looks like these weird shrimpy blobs.
Mm-hmm.
Getting their name. I'm scrolling back up to see it again. But they have this funny feature in their thing, lets them retrain any ancestry feat with only a day of downtime.
Ooh, cool.
And that includes lineage feats.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
So you can combine them with a versatile heritage if you wanted to, and retrain what your lineage was exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is really neat. And that's Barathu, yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of this board game Cosmic Encounter, one of the aliens in it. You basically get to reinvent yourself. Yep. It's a board game I like. Backgrounds, no big surprises. Backgrounds are not big flashy aspects of the system. But there's a lot of cool theming. Here, there's the vid gamer background. Gaming is more than just a hobby for you. Whether you're a professional player, game designer, infosphere influencer, or just an enthusiast who has mastered every vid game worth installing, you're a vid game connoisseur. You get the hologram skeptic skill feat to detect holograms and illusions. I thought that was cool. There's also the tech support background. There's a lot of cool, futuristic or modern things in this book.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is, we have VidGamer. We don't have Lawyer. So this looks like this would be,
Don't worry. There's a background that gives you Titan Wrestler, Ron. Wrestling is still alive in the setting. Lawyers might be dead, but wrestling lives.
Let's have the Sean drinking game. Take a shot whenever he mentions wrestler.
I will kill all of the audience.
Oh, I have to share the fact that Sean and I discovered, I did the digging yesterday, that Sean is the originator of the phrase "every plus one matters." The very first time I met Sean was during my Marshals v Casters rematch gauntlet event that I did 4 months into my channel. And I'd already been thinking of having an animation, and then another one of our friends, Domble Builds, made the animation. So it was a collab, our first collaboration. But he uttered the phrase in one of our streams.
Okay. And specifically reference to inspired defense from a bard on the other team.
Yeah, which made helped the caster team win. That was our first answer to the Marshall caster debate. The casters won, folks. Okay.
Casters did win.
Wow, we have a lot of people in chat. I won't be able to follow all the messages. We're gonna do classes last, folks. The next chapter to cover is skills. We have 2 new skills in Starfinder. We have computers and piloting. And I'll let you say what you want about. I assume you've seen more here than I have.
Yeah. So basically, we don't actually know fully what piloting will entail. We see some maneuvers you can do with it, and it seems to follow the rules for vehicles that were placed in Guns and Gears. Mm-hmm. And generically, there are like normal piloting where you can just drive in a straight line for an action and go its normal speed. And then there are reckless actions, which will require big piloting checks in order to actually do.
Mm-hmm. And these can, of course, be used on starships as well as vehicles.
Reckless will also make the vehicle uncontrolled if you fail the roll. And uncontrolled means it's just going to keep on going in a straight line and can veer 45 degrees in either direction, depending on GM said it goes that way.
I didn't mention the fact that we do not have starship combat rules in this playtest. They promise that they're going to playtest something later, but it's not happening yet. The starship combat rules is one of the appeals of the first edition of Starfinder, but my experience, I think they got a mixed reception and were a bit fiddly. The idea was everyone has something to do, but it was a bit onerous to like deal with like positioning your ship and steering, and everybody. There's a lot of things per turn, and I'd be interested to see what they do to revamp it.
And they said they're still cooking on that one, but for now, just do a victory point style skill challenge.
Yeah,
and that's fair. But I want to point out that because survival, I couldn't find it, so I assume that it got sunsetted. And we have navigation and plotting courses now be part of the piloting. So dexterity is now the stat to navigate. I'm just going to say that out loud and let people have their opinions on that one.
Okay. That is strange. That's a good point to make. I would say that's an issue.
On page 138, if you're doing the lookup page number in the PDF, you can see the different stunts that they have pre-written and the penalty it'll be to try and pilot it.
Yeah.
And if you fail one of those stunts, you are going to lose control.
Yeah, and if this is the extent of the rules, oh my god, it's so much simpler than first edition. I'm going to point out Starfinder First Edition had some of the cruft from 3rd edition D&D and 1st edition Pathfinder. I just was looking at this the other day, and I found a check that said that the DC of your check is 15 plus 1.5 times the target's level, or their sense motive skill plus 10, whichever is higher. That was the DC. Anyway, there's lots of formulas like that for doing starship maneuvers, which I guess was part of the accumulation of things that made starship combat a bit unwieldy. But yeah, these are very streamlined and simpler.
Yeah, I also want to talk about computers real quick. Because computers have some new interesting abilities. This is on page 135 if you're doing the page search right at the start of the skills section, so that you can pull it up. But computers then have access infosphere, which lets you basically, if you're in an area with an infosphere, computers, if you have downtime, become an all topics recall knowledge check. But it takes more time.
Yeah, it takes 10 minutes normally, and if you critically succeed, and it's info you would gain from recall knowledge, it can take 1 minute.
Yeah, but computers can be in general recall knowledge check, which is very interesting.
Yes. And everybody has a computer on their person in Starfinder.
Yeah. And then there's like hack, which lets you try and get into computer systems. You can do
Someone pointed out Google it.
Yeah, you can Google it. Doom Scroll is a spell. We aren't at spells yet. We're not talking about them yet.
Okay. And program, apparently there's something, it's a downtime activity, and you create programming items.
Yeah. So you can do like crafting stuff. You can even assist people in crafting items by making program checks and writing the software for their hardware.
Do you happen to know do we have examples? What's an example of a programming item? Do you know?
I need to look through the equipment because that entire section is a blur to me. I was just kind of like quickly skimming.
Okay.
I do know that there is like an actual thing in lore. I think it was some kind of polymer capsule that can be exchanged like credits. But they're in a physical form and they're the same bulk as coins, where it takes 1,000 be one bulk. And they're basically just used as components for making all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, universal polymer base you're talking about?
The universal polymer base, yeah, that one.
Okay.
The UPBs.
Someone in chat just said something that I want to look up. I know in 1st edition Starfinder, everyone had kind of had a computer on them. And I just want to see what it's going to say here. Tech gear.
People are basically assumed to have computers on them.
Okay. All right.
Like, from what I read, everything's like computerized now.
Which would make sense.
Even wands and scrolls are computerized.
Okay. Feats I've hardly looked at all, Sean, and I'm gonna have to.
I have strong opinions on feats.
Oh, okay.
Deception may now be the strongest skill in the game.
What is?
Deception.
Oh, okay.
Deception has an expert skill feat now to let you battle medicine, but it gives temp HP.
Okay.
That's just one of the things Deception can do. I'm gonna need to go into the feat section.
I'll tell you, Sean, you'll have 5 minutes to say what you want about feats. And I'm gonna look at chat. And what the hell's additional spoons?
It's a common metaphor for people say, I only have so many spoons to do things today. It lets you basically let them do more.
Okay.
That's a common thing in like the... You know, I'm not gonna get into it too much. I'm gonna keep on scrolling, trying to figure out where the deception stuff
the new
is.
generation lingo?
Yeah, more or less.
I'm an old man.
Oh yeah, and then there's a new legendary deception skill feat called Master Troll. For a single action, you have curated a collection of viral memes and...
Wait, hold on. Let me put on the screen first for people.
It's page 153.
Yeah.
154 if you're doing the page search.
All right. Master Troll, what the hell is this?
You can read it out loud. You can read.
All right, you and your target need a comm unit. You've curated a collection of viral memes and infosphere lingo that you use as an arsenal to enhance your trickery. Do a deception check versus will DC. On a success, the target is off guard. Oh, it's one action. Yeah. On a critical success, it's confused for 1 round, so you can send them a meme in the middle of combat.
And then they might have to attack their allies because of it. so
In
good,
addition,
you know?
the target's reaction gives you information about it as though you attempted to recall
As though you
knowledge
recall-knowledged it.
using an appropriate skill, but you're using your deception check
Your
as
deception.
your degree of success. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Yay. More uses for skills, folks.
That plus Kiss It Better will make deception probably the strongest skill in the game.
I just look forward to reading through this more in detail. There's just a lot of stuff that's like requires some, they get to riff off of things that wouldn't be appropriate in a fantasy game.
And fishing expertise that you can make fishing style hacking attacks. It's on the next page.
Okay, Kiss It Better. You do a token medical effort to convince an ally they've recovered. Deception check. They get half the corresponding amount of hit points as temporary hit points, and they last a round. Okay.
I mean, it's still like deception now has healing built in.
Okay, interesting. But it's not stronger than medicine, right?
It's not stronger than medicine
Battle
doing
medicine.
this job, but it's interesting that deception can now do it.
Yeah, it is.
And deception was already pretty good as a combat skill for Kraid Diversion, which is going to be even better now that there are more ranged attackers in the meta.
And I don't
now
know
it also has...
if a Pathfinder player wanted to use this feat. I don't see why this is limited to a sci-fi setting.
Yeah. And that's kind of a thing that you're going to see throughout a lot of these, like, just kidding. Performance also got a ton of new tools. Performance now has some skill feats to let you dazzle people.
Huh. So what do you say there's been this kind of the setting has allowed them to, or at least in this playtest, there's more that mental things, charisma,
Yes.
that you can do with charisma skills and in your intellect with computers, obviously, but that there's just more of a premium placed on those kinds of things that people in a modern society could see themselves doing.
Yeah.
We can't actually troll somebody and confuse them. Actually, you can, but
convince somebody you heard a rumor about them that's going to destroy their reputation. That's not what I heard as a level 7 feat on page 157.
I like how they're just like letting loose with their titles here. Oh my god. I mean, and with D&D getting so much hype today because of Gen Con, I'm like, come on, just read some of these feats. And you're like, oh, this just sounds more inspired. And the rules are free.
Mm-hmm. And
Cool.
we can go into the equipment section.
All right, equipment. I had some comments here. First, we have credits. 1 gold piece in Pathfinder equals 10 credits in this system.
Yes.
And
a credit is a silver.
And another form of currency, if you want to use it as currency, is universal polymer base, UPB. It's bulkier, but it can be used as raw material to craft kind of anything in the game. They are, so they're just kind of, hand waving the whole idea that you need specific materials for making things. The thing that can make a scalpel can also make, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something. I'm not thinking.
Mentions that it could be resistor, it can be a wire, it can be circuit, diode, fastener, insulator, lens, any of the above. Just it's raw materials. Just
the rules for bulk and how much you can carry are kind of all the same. Changing equipment.
That is identical to coins. The bulk of the UBPs.
What's that?
The bulk of the UBPs is identical to how coin bulk works.
Oh, okay. Whereas you can have credits on cred sticks. Yeah. It's not a credit card. A cred stick is actual cash, but it lives in a digital portable format.
Yep. And there's different levels of biosecurity you can put on it or whatever. But fundamentally, they are prepaid debit cards. And you're just Venmoing people. And that's kind of the shtick.
Improving equipment. We'll get to it when we see some of the charts about it. Okay, so armor. One thing I noticed, a lot of the rules are kind of the same, but you'll notice that everything has upgrade slots. Even level 1 items, level 0 items have upgrade slots, and we'll see some of the upgrades. So upgrades can consist, they would be like
they'd be like property runes.
they are. And as you improve the armor, as you get the armor to higher levels, you get more upgrade slots that you'll probably want to have stronger property runes put in. But at level 1, you can have things that are kind of less than what you'd expect in a property rune in Pathfinder. I'll just show some examples. An armor upgrade can give you just basic, most things have environmental protection, so that's a poor example. Filtered rebreather, which gives you a bonus against inhaled effects. A radiation buffer, which gives you a bonus against radiation in this game.
Yep. There's one for like weather and different environmental conditions. Like it's pretty basic environmental basic protection stuff that you can get at the very low levels.
Yeah, that's the first section, and then most of them are grouped under armor upgrades. We have a dark vision visor at level 1. That is low level compared to Pathfinder. You wouldn't have that in Pathfinder.
And also there is a master nature skill feat that gives you dark vision. So dark vision is much easier to come by in Starfinder 2. So are fly speeds. People mentioned that the ancestry that I mentioned earlier on that can retrain in a day also gets an innate fly speed of 20 feet.
Yeah, and flight, they're more liberal with flight and vertical mobility in the system. We haven't even gone to 0G rolls, which we'll get to. But a level 3 armor upgrade, jump jets, basically gives you quick jump, kind of. Oh, and actually, you can fly 20 feet vertically, but you must land at the end of the movement. Jetpack is level 5. It gives you, with an action, a fly speed for 1 minute. And I don't think it has a limit on how many times you can use it.
They're being very liberal with fly speeds and other types of movement speeds.
Yeah.
Where Pathfinder 2 kind of restricted when you get flight, how long you have it, etc., etc. They're kind of letting it, everybody has range attack, who cares? Go ahead, get rid of your cover.
And we'll see that there are 7 grades of items. From commercial is the first, then tactical, advanced, superior, elite. Okay, linguists will hate this. Ultimate is not the last and best level. That belongs to Paragon.
To the Paragon tier.
So these are all of your base items up here, and these kind of work like reinforcing runes for shields. You just add aspects, including things that reflect the potency runes in Pathfinder to your AC and to your saving throws. These are all here. They don't perfectly correspond when I compared them to Pathfinder, I noticed.
Nope.
And there's some weird things like when your AC goes up by 1 at level 5, you don't get an additional upgrade slot, where in Pathfinder you
do get the resilient.
Yeah, and you do get resilient at level 5. I wonder if these are misprints, you guys. I do wonder.
It very well could be, but like, and there's a lot of weirdness going on.
Because this is supposed to be at level 8, resilient.
It has an upgrade that doesn't actually do anything. And like, there's a bunch of other weirdness that's going on.
Yeah.
So I kind of assumed that a lot of the numerical stuff that we see is weirdness. We shouldn't look at the numbers too heavily.
Okay.
But with this, I want to flag one more complaint I saw online.
And they already put out day 1 errata, and this was not errata, by the way.
There are 0 heavy armor sets that can be bought with the starting 150 credits.
Armor sets? I see some armors that are less than 150. What do you mean?
On heavy armors.
Oh, heavy armors. Ah.
There are 0 heavy armors that cost 150 or below.
All right. Gonna have to adventure to get those.
And people complained about that online. I don't think it's a big deal. But people online have complained, so I'm bringing it up here as a thing that people can complain about.
Well, you know, that's like rule 1 of the internet. The people who complain are the loudest.
Yep, but I think it's fine. It's like, I was always buying medium armor on my level 1 fighters anyway. Like, you know, you can live.
Yeah.
I'm
shields.
just pointing it out for...
Yeah, I'm going to point out with the armors too, they all have different traits that make it not a clear choice. There's like different advantages of different things. Whereas I think in Pathfinder, because of the traditions in D&D, you kind of gravitate towards one or two things in each class, like breastplate and full plate. But that's not nearly as true here. And they all have different armor specializations depending on which group you have. There's something called, Same thing with the shields. There's your classic, the hardest and with the most hit points, but then you have others that have these traits like retractable.
Yep. And you have your classic stuff you'd expect from Pathfinder. Like Riot Shield is just Tower Shield by a different name.
Uh-huh.
A lot of these are stuff that we have seen in Pathfinder. Phase Shield is new, much lower HP total, but has 0 bolt.
Okay. All right. Shield improvements are just like the armor improvements. It's your expected progression if you're using reinforcing runes. Unlike in Pathfinder, you cannot be all in on potency runes with 0 property. Well, I'll retract that sentence completely. Never mind. You cannot be full in on plus AC while neglecting saving throws. You have to go through this.
You have to go through the
level
ladder.
track.
But also, a thing I want to mention for these shield improvements, they don't boost the hardness by that much because they're just like reinforcing runes. So if there are no upgrade versions of these shields, and there aren't any printed in this playtest, so I'm going to complain about it, the max hardness you can have on a shield would be if you have the Mobile Bulwark with the Paragon shield improvement for a total of 13 hardness.
Mm-hmm.
That is about what a level 10 Pathfinder character could reasonably have. Ish.
Isn't that what you get from reinforcing runes in Pathfinder?
It's pretty equivalent to reinforcing runes, but usually you'd buy a bigger shield at some point, and then reinforcing rune that. Because reinforcing runes are not enough to bring it up entire tiers.
All right. I'm going to speed things up. With weapons, I think this is not news to folks who are familiar with Guns and Gears. Weapons will have magazines, and there's... Okay, let's just put up something. Machine gun. That has a magazine of 20 projectiles. Reloading a new magazine will be 2 actions. And the expend column is how much of your magazine gets expended with each shot. And sometimes it's batteries in the case of charges. Sometimes it's petrol in the case of other weapons. Some weapons are area weapons and can have area attacks. And that's all here. I want to point out something cool that I thought was cool. You can have also weapons have upgrade slots. All of them do have 1 upgrade slot each. And so you could do
not all the weapons have 1 upgrade slot each. Some have more.
At least 1 is what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's level 1 weapon upgrades. Things like where did it go?
I know that stuff like giving it a tripod is a level 1 weapon upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like very basic stuff. This is like your rune slot, just
undermounted grenade launcher. Hell yeah. It takes 10 minutes to prepare a grenade, but you can do Ripley from Aliens and, have big things underneath your main firing barrel. Ways to advance the Solarian's armor and weapon. We'll get to the Solarian. Augmentations. You can have a number of augmentations equal to 1 plus your Constitution modifier. So this gives some more value to Constitution folks. To get biotech, cybernetics, or magitech.
Yep.
Then
those are like augments you install into yourself.
Mm-hmm. And then magic items and tech gear, which is like adventuring gear. Then we go to spells, which I don't know if you have anything to say here.
I remember seeing a few spells I thought were funny. Generally with these spells, I will note that something I complained about for a little bit has now been fixed. Occult got a 4th rank spell that has a 20-foot burst and does damage. That was a thing I wanted for a while. It is now a thing in the game. So
Okay. Yeah.
And also there was a spell called New Game.
That's that's on my list. It's a 10th rank spell, new game, you want to say?
It's a 10th rank spell. Let's talk about it now. It's an entire page spell.
It's arcane only.
Yep.
It's you create a game. You draw multiple creatures into a vid game, digitizing their bodies and minds. So they leave the battlefield and go into this other space.
Yep.
You can either target yourself and allies to have a relaxing slice of life social simulation game for an hour, where you can refocus, etc., in your own video game. Or you can cast yourself or a willing ally with one enemy, and you enter a PvP game and are instructed to fight. Every turn, you can get fortune, basically roll twice and use the better, on one of your checks, or force misfortune on the foe. So it's like that's kind of like one of the Pathfinder spells where you're like locked in a one-on-one duel and no one else can interfere. Another is you put the enemy in a PvE or puzzle game, so it's kind of like the maze spell, now Quandary. Yeah.
And you force them to play Slay the Spire.
Slay the Spire, yes. Though it looks like it's not any more powerful than that 8th rank spell, which disappointed me. It's an 8th rank spell, I believe.
One of 3 options. That is a writer effect to have an option. The real power of the spell is that first mode where you have all your allies go to an extra dimensional space. You know exactly when that spell is going to end. You fully refocus, fully heal everybody up using treat wounds.
Oh yes, you can do it in combat.
Circle,
3 actions.
Do layers of pre-buffing, and then you come back and annihilate them.
There you go. All right, you saw it, SwingRipper. I can always count on you.
Like that actually probably makes this way too strong. It being a full hour. If it said you have
it
10
sounds too
minutes
strong to me.
Space, that's only 1 layer of refocusing, and you're maybe not healing up that fast depending on how many healing resources you have. So that'd probably make it more manageable.
To give you an idea of what some of the spells are like in Starfinder, there's a motivating ringtone, which is like a bard song coming from somebody's comm unit. It heals them.
Doom Scroll is very fun.
Doom Scroll.
It is Arcane Divine Occult. 15-foot burst area. All the creatures in that area get basically just a massive notification of bad things are happening. And then they become fascinated and then frightened and maybe even doomed as they...
All right. For those who don't know, Doom Scroll is a term. It's a verb. Yeah. It's something the new kids are saying.
Yeah.
Oh, they can be
when
doomed.
When you're just seeing the bad news on your phone, you can't stop yourself from just scrolling through.
Yeah. Okay. And then we have deities for the, post-gap era.
Yep.
And there's a short section on rules. Again,
I have 2 deities that are my favorite that I want to discuss for a little bit.
Okay.
Lambatun, the Polyphonic Collective, which is, in terms of areas of concern, infospheres, pop culture, and memes. And it mentioned that the god will argue over things very quickly and then move on, not talk to you ever again.
Anathema to unplug from infospheres for too long. Okay, and another?
And the other one is actually the last one in the book because of the lore implications. Zon Shaylin.
Oh god, what the hell? Shaylin is the artist lady and Zonkuthon's like the sadomasochist?
The pain one, yeah. And they were brother-sister, or they are brother-sister. And they have remerged and got over their differences, and now are a god about overcoming suffering through art, strange beauty, and reunion with lost loved ones.
Interesting.
And so they are basically telling you to channel pain to art, seek beauty in dark places, and express yourself creatively according to your aesthetics, and to not be restricted by society's standards of beauty.
Oh, I forgot to mention, some items in the equipment section have the archaic trait, and it says under archaic that in the case of archaic weapons, they're not as effective against modern armor. but there's no game effect given to this trait. And I think they are not intended to have a game effect, and I think it's purely fluff text from what I'm getting. And I think they did that to allow for more compatibility.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, in first edition Pathfinder, you had like damage reduction 10 against archaic weapons or something like that.
Because like, then there would be the argument of, well, wouldn't this spike trap be archaic? Aren't these like giant boulder falling on me? Isn't that archaic? Isn't that spell that shooting?
Yeah.
I like that they did that, so I don't need to play those ward games.
Yeah, and you know,
if I have
for a whole class of items to just be better, and if you want to incorporate the two...
If I'm fighting this massive monster creature, aren't its attacks archaic?
Yeah. Right.
I'm glad they phased that out, by the way. I'm happy.
Okay, in the environments, I'll just point out that there are rules for extreme gravity, high gravity, low gravity, zero gravity. I'm just going to point out there's some hazards here. Untethered is a condition where you're in a zero gravity environment. You cannot take move actions, and at the end of your turn, you move 5 feet in the last direction you moved. You can do the push-off action to move half your speed immediately, and at the end of your turn, you move half your speed again. So that's kind of how zero gravity works. And wings will not give you flight in zero gravity. Well, if there's no atmosphere, you need to have something with propulsion. Glitching is another condition, which basically, if something's glitching, you have a DC 10 flat check plus the glitching value, or you fail, or you take an item penalty to your checks and DCs with the item, or you become stunned 1. So that's a thing.
I want to mention that radiation does poison damage, so therefore, if you have immunity to poison damage, you are immune to radiation.
Nice. All right, you can survive the apocalypse.
I'm just saying that is how it's worded.
Yep. They all make you sickened. And Megan's here. And
I think it should make you sicken and deal force damage, personally.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think that would make sense for radiation, but that's my opinion. And also, there is a spell for, I think, Arcane and Primal that lets you create irradiated areas for an hour.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you can upcast it to create higher level versions of that irradiation.
All right, let's get to our classes.
Okay.
The Envoy is basically they have aspects of the Commander playtest. They can use discrete actions, ETE discrete. I think that's the right one. They're a charisma class, but actions to inspire their allies and prompt their allies to do things sometimes outside their turn. They're a charisma-based class, so they also remind me of the Bard, and they are the skill monkey of Starfinder. They have 2 skills plus 6 plus their intelligence modifier, and they get bonus skill feats based on their subclass, and their the social skills, which are deception, diplomacy, and intimidation, they just get straight up, like, they're just better at those as they get class features that allow them to re-roll their check and use the higher, or get status bonuses. But their core mechanic...
the fact that they get a skill increase every level.
Oh,
like
I didn't catch that.
That's at 2nd level. It mentions that they just get a skill increase.
Yes.
At 2nd level and every level thereafter.
Yes.
That was the thing people talking on the playtest. Want to see if that lived. They do not get skill feats that often, though. Instead, they have adaptive talent. So they kind of do what Fighter does with their battlefield stuff, where they pick temporary feats per day, but they get up to 3 skill feats that they're then picking temporarily per day.
Yeah, so they get a free slot in the morning to learn a skill feat for that day, which increases to 2 at 9th level and 3 at 15th level.
And I want to actually throw out, I really like that design, because a lot of newer players playing Rogue get overwhelmed by the quantity of skill feats that rarely come up. This way, they have the same amount of normal skill feats as a normal character, but then will pick their specialty things, then remember to use them. So I really like this design for a skill monkey class.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just say something extremely positive.
Mm-hmm. Envoys get actions called directives that encourage their allies. Every level 1 envoy gets get 'em. And they get to get more directives from class feats. They can only use multiple directives in a turn, but they can use the same directive only once in a round. The effects last until the start of their next turn, so let's look at get 'em. You single out an enemy for you and your allies to focus your attacks on. This concentrated assault weakens that enemy's defenses. It is an enemy within 60 feet that you can see. They get a -1 circumstance penalty to AC and reflex saves until the beginning of your next turn. And lead by example, every directive has a lead by example entry where if you follow your own advice, so in this case, if you attack that creature, then there's something else good that happens. Yeah. In this case, and it usually boosts your allies too when they follow your example. In this case, you get bonus damage equal to 1 plus half your charisma modifier, and your allies get a +1 bonus to damage rolls. Both of these bonuses increase as you level up.
And I want to mention that the lead by example says if you attack the target, not if you strike the target. Which thus opens up to grapples and trips.
Oh, okay. I didn't bring my shot class, but okay. Then you have a non-combat skill, the thing, size up. So I'm assuming wrestling is not going to come up in this. You spend 1 minute observing an individual, or 10 minutes researching them on the infosphere, or 1 hour networking and getting info. That person becomes your asset. You basically get, it's like hunt prey. You get a +1 bonus on deception, diplomacy, intimidation, and perception against your target to recall knowledge about them. And if you enter a combat with them, you get a bonus to your initiative roll, and you can immediately interact to draw a weapon, step, or stride.
Yep. And I should mention Envoy does have a subclass in it that gives them medium armor. So they can wrestle, it gives them athletics, they're great.
Okay, that had nothing to do with Social Mastermind, you're cheating.
I am cheating, but I couldn't mention it when we were on the previous topic.
Okay. Leadership style is your subclass. Each one of these gives you another skill at level 1, gives you a perk such as medium armor, and an act of leadership. These acts of leadership count as lead by example for you. So you can do get 'em, and you don't have to attack your target. And if you instead, if you are a from the front envoy, raise your shield, this is like a more defensive, tougher guy, that leads by example to your allies. So gives you some more flexibility, lets you lean more into like your theme here. Or in this case, just take a move action within an enemy's reach. So that will lead by example. The other ones are from the shadows, guns blazing, in the spotlight, hotshot, infosphere director, through desperate times. Any comments, Sean?
I don't really have super strong opinions on which subclasses are best here. I think that it's just a matter of what you want to be doing, and all of them are pretty good. I will note, you probably will still want to have a high enough attacking stat to put out damage, or splash into some kind of spellcasting archetype, or else you'll be a very low impact class. And I think that if you're taking the right feats, because there's a lot of active feats, you can still probably make a no dexterity, no strength version of this class work. You're just really going to be fighting the game in a few sections. And I wouldn't recommend it.
I see that Infosphere Director gives you digital diversion as a bonus feat, and I'm curious. You can create a diversion by using computers. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
One gives you battle medicine, I see, and you can lead by example by battle medicining. Okay. The class features are, you know, what you're used to, except they definitely improve those charisma skills that I mentioned earlier. I'm just looking at my notes here. 13th level. Show them what you got. Is that here? Yeah. This was crazy. Once per 10 minutes. During your daily preparations, review your team's capabilities with up to 5 allies. You and each of these allies decide whether they are an attacker, defender, expert, or spellcaster for this ability. You spend 2 actions, and everyone gets buffed in a certain way. Until the start of your next turn, attackers can roll twice and use the better result the next time they try to strike. Defenders can do the same against an enemy, force them to roll twice and use the lower. Experts can roll twice on a skill check. Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Spellcasters can roll twice. Or on an attack, or force a target to roll twice and take the lower. And you can lead by example. If you do that, you all get temporary hit points.
So, once per 10 minutes, you let the caster force somebody to misfortune slow.
No! Oh, God. I can always count on
don't
you,
worry,
Sean.
I was saving it for something stupider. Oh, what? You thought you'd be able to succeed, synth the stage, and have the effect fall off? No, then give me another roll.
I feel like we just need to have you rant for, a period of time, and it'll give a lot of useful playtest feedback.
Rant for a class in the future, and it's not going to be in a rant that you're expecting.
Wait, say it again?
I have a rant for a class in the future, but
okay.
It's not going to be a class that you expect me to rant about.
All right, let's... anything about the class feats, Sean?
They have a ton of activated abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So they will be picking up a lot of stuff that are very active-oriented early on, and then probably round out with the passives in their later feats. I haven't looked at feats in too much detail. I just kind of saw, wow, that's a lot of things with an action cost when I was scrolling through its feat list.
I just saw this. It looks funny. Not in the face. You do a deception check to look meek and pitiful when someone targets you with a melee attack, and you can make them miss you. It's kind of like the cringe feat that
Yeah.
Okay.
It is kind of cringe. I agree.
I like it. Here's the mystic.
I was leaning into the bit. There was a bit.
Here's the mystic. They are basically, there's 2 spellcasting classes in this playtest. This is the wisdom-based one. They are, if you want to be very crude about it, they are the clerics of Starfinder. But not just that.
If clerics could have 3 of the 4 spell lists.
If clerics could have 3 of the 4 spell lists, excluding arcane, am I right?
Excluding arcane, correct.
And, but their class features make them different from clerics.
Yeah.
They, as well as the Witchwarper, have a light armor proficiency, and both have 8 hit points. We don't have any 6 hit point classes in this playtest. And proficiency with simple weapons. Both spellcasting classes can get 4 spell slots per level. They're both spontaneous spellcasters.
Yeah.
And what you get is focus spells called epiphanies, depending on your subclass.
And I would say the epiphanies are stronger than the cleric focus spells by a little bit. Not quite to the point of a psychic or witch focus spell. Just so chat can vaguely understand.
Okay.
From my skimming, that was my impression.
You can have a mystic bond during your... Wait. With up to 10 allies, and you always know whether they're dying, dead, unconscious.
Whatever.
It just doesn't work across planes. Is there vitality network that we're about to get to limited to them?
I believe so.
Okay. Vitality network is like a common pool of hit points. It reminds me of a third-party class made by Dreamscard Press, a psionic class called the Vitalist, I believe. You kind of had a group hive mind thing with a pool of healing. Well, that's this. This pool has 6 plus 4 hit points per mystic level, and you get the transfer of a vitality action where you transfer 1 or more hit points from the network into yourself or a bonded creature that you can see within 60 feet. And at the start of every turn in combat, when you regain actions, your network regains 4 hit points. This goes up when your subclass skill goes to master and legendary.
Yep.
So it also refreshes more slowly during outside of combat. Yep.
It's when you refocus.
When you refocus, yep.
But it's basically assumed to be kind of full up a lot of the time. In combat, it recovering for that amount of HP is actually significant, because that is just more uses of transfer vitality, and there are other spells that let you take HP out of the network and put it into a spell, and then do stuff. Like I saw a divine attack roll spell that lets you take damage yourself or pull it out of the network. But it wasn't a very good spell, so I'm not gonna I didn't even bother memorizing its name. But there are spells that exist that will let you pull stuff out of that network as a passive, and transfer vitality can transfer any amount of HP.
Yeah, from 1 to the full amount.
So you can dump your entire network into one person and let it recharge without a fight, and then have another heal later.
Can you do this multiple times in a round so you can bring up 2 downed allies?
It has the transfer trait. I don't think there's a limit on how many transfer actions you can do. I'll need to look at the trait.
I don't see a limit.
If it's hidden in the trait, then I don't.
It's not in the trait.
But okay, there we go.
Okay, so this is our healer, a leader, support, all those words in game terms. 3rd level, they have group chat. You get to... It's like an action you spend before casting a spell on a bonded ally. You can exclude the ally from the effect, or make it affect only the ally. Interesting. Okay, and then their class features are pretty boring. Their stuff comes from their other things. Their connections, their subclass. Every subclass has a different spellcasting tradition, a skill training, a cantrip, and a spell of each rank that you get as part of your repertoire, and a harmony that whenever you transfer vitality to somebody, there's this extra thing. And the Akashic connection, which refers to the supernatural repository of all knowledge in the multiverse, you get to recall knowledge. No, the target gets to recall knowledge immediately. Yep. And Elemental gives them their next strike until the end of your next turn, can deal persistent damage of a certain type. Electricity, or piercing, or acid. Apparently you can choose each time. So those are some examples. The healing one, I wasn't sure what its advantage was, honestly.
It has some really good healing focus spells.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And you can also heal void healing creatures.
That.
And your vitality network will regain HP if you overheal somebody.
Why would you overheal them if you can choose the exact amount? That was my question.
Heal.
Oh, whenever you heal a bonded creature, period. Oh.
So 3-action heal, and if you're full health, oh look, all that dice went into the cloud.
Okay, I'm a little confused because
so
harmony, I thought, is something that happens with your use of... Oh, this one says whenever you transfer vitality, so it spelled it out for Akashic. So if it doesn't spell it out, it's whenever you heal. Wow, okay.
Yeah, so...
Nice.
Yeah,
there you go, that's the benefit. Thank you.
Full health pretty reasonably with the reaction heal and stuff like that. Like, that's powerful. Now, you can't 3-action heal and then do the vitality network thing and do all that in, like, 1 round, because 4 actions at that point, but if you find area healing effects, like, let's say if you had focus spells that could do healing, and you overheal somebody, that all goes into the network for you to then heal.
Mm-hmm.
And do I need to remind you, this is a caster with armor and 8 HP.
That's good, right?
I think this class is in contention for strongest class in the game.
Oh, okay. And they're like super healers.
Yeah.
I'm
not going to go too much more in detail than that, just because I think why they're that way is obvious.
I do think in general these all seem like a nudge above.
Caster. Yeah, I mean, I think that they're balanced if we compare them to post-remaster Cleric, post-remaster Oracle. Because I think that's the new standard for casters that we're seeing. I think that's where they want casters to be. And yes, it can wrestle. It does get access to deity domains. You can get Athletic Rush. You can use a general feat to get medium armor. And you can build it as a wrestler.
Yeah, someone was mentioning wrestler in chat. The rhythm connection lets you extend the duration of your focus spell by a round.
And also, its focus spell is the Inspiring Anthem from Bard, or the Courageous Anthem from Bard, but it has a duration sustained of a minute as a one-action focus spell.
Okay.
And they have a lot of sustain focus spells in their like repertoire. And their first one is Bard's +1 status bonus to accuracy and damage.
Okay. So, and yeah, you can, apparently, if you have a focus point remaining, So
you are a 4-slot with armor primal caster that has Bard focus spells. That uses Wisdom.
Okay. And you can transfer Vitality while doing your one-action focus spell. Shadow lets you make the target have an area of dim light around them, darker, that they can hide in. Okay, more on the Mystic and anything on the class feats.
Their class feats, I would need to look at them more heavily. I just kind of checked, saw Deity's domain was there, and then went, hey, it can wrestle, and then scrolled to the next class.
All right, that's how you're able to get through a whole book, because you have a one-track mind, Sean.
Look, it's how you got to do it, you know?
All right, Operative. This has been, in first edition Starfinder, this was the rogue of the system. Now it's the gunslinger fighter of the system, I will say.
I would say it's the gunslinger monk of the system, and I'll give you reasons for that later.
Okay. Well, what stood out to me is that they're expert in strikes. With guns, simple guns and martial guns.
The next thing that stood out to me is they have weaker saving throws than every other martial class.
Interesting.
Even Soldier got a second expert save at level 1 now, but this one has 2 that are trained.
Okay.
And that is unique as a martial class.
Interesting. As a class, period, am I wrong?
As a martial class, it is unique. Every other class that has had only 1 expert save has been a caster with expert reflex trained in the other 2. And that is true of every caster except War Priest clerics.
Okay.
This is unique among all classes as a starting saving throw list.
Okay.
And is unique among martials in how few expert saves it has.
You're a focused and quick-witted professional who thrives in high-stakes combat. Your deadly aim and tactical training give you an edge over the competition. You are a dexterity-based class. You have Sharpshooter, which gives you the aim action. We don't have any archetypes in this PDF, am I right?
No, there are no archetypes.
Okay. This basically lets you spend an action to get an additional 1d4 precision damage on your strikes against that target until the end of your turn, and you reduce the circumstance bonus they would gain from cover by 1. So that includes lesser cover, I think. You just need to have a ranged weapon that does not have the area trait, so no big area attacks.
Yeah.
You get more dice of damage at higher levels. You get to reduce the AC bonus by more.
Yep.
And you get Operative's specialization. Each of them gives you some boon called an exploit, an enhanced exploit at level 9. And so some examples are... I'm going to point out there's one that actually lets you focus on melee attacks.
And that one was Day 1 errata to also work with unarmed strikes.
Okay, good. So your expert proficiency doesn't...
as a key attribute.
What?
And it lets you choose strength as a key attribute. So this can wrestle. You get a strength key ability score.
Oh, very good.
You're welcome.
I was kind of wondering why this isn't. This almost feels like a class archetype, but this makes your expert proficiency.
It not being a class archetype means it can get wrestler archetype.
What? No, can't you? Oh, because you don't have to take feats in a class. All class archetypes
class
have feats.
have this.
Oh,
have
gotcha.
That special requirement still because they have a dedication feat.
All right.
But
okay, your expert proficiency moves to weapons with the agile trait, or where does it say unarmed strikes?
Day one errata document.
But I thought this PDF is supposed to reflect
Day
you.
one errata document states it.
Oh, okay.
It has like 10 changes that are not listed in the book. That was one of them.
And you can use your aim action for these melee strikes, as it says. You also get reactive step. I'm not going to go through everything, but this lets you react, kind of follow somebody, kind of. When they try to move away from you, you get to step twice. They're probably moving farther than that, though.
And I have some notes for this class's class chassis, okay? I have notes.
Okay. Can I point out, before I let you, before I unleash you, I'm going to point out the other ones are Ghost, Infiltrator, Skirmisher, Sniper. Sniper notably lets you avoid the volley trait penalty and get a bonus feat. Can I point out a couple of things that I think might be broken? Or do you want my concealer fire?
There is a D10 Fatal D12 firearm.
What's that?
Book, just so you know, there is a martial weapon that is D10 base damage, Fatal D12 as a ranged weapon.
What's it called?
I forgot.
Oh, okay. But that's fatal weapons usually don't have D10s.
No. The only one that does is the Great Pick, but has a different downside trait, which blah, 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 blah. But, like, that's a thing for this one to look at.
I saw this on the Starfinder 2E subreddit, which people should join, by the way, because who are watching this, there's a Starfinder 2E dedicated subreddit, different from the Starfinder subreddit. But someone posted about this feat. Look at it. Level 2 feat, Hair Trigger. It's a reaction. Trigger. A creature within your first range increment uses a manipulate action or a move action, makes a ranged attack, or leaves a square during a move action. You have to be wielding a gun. What you do is attempt a ranged strike against a triggering creature. If it's a critical hit and the trigger was a manipulate action, you disrupt that action. This does not have the multiple attack penalty. So it's reactive strike, but with a ranged weapon within the entire first range increment of your weapon.
Which is going to be absurd. I do not think this feat will make it to the final version in its full text.
Yeah, and there's some guns with 100-foot range increment, so you can basically... That's pretty strong. And I'm going to point out 17th level, you basically have the Ranger's Flurry Hunter's Edge. You reduce the multiple attack penalty for your strikes from -5 to -3. And it
doesn't say strikes, it says attacks. This is Wrestler Erasure.
Okay. You're making my point for me. It's -2 with agile weapons. So Hunter's Flurry on a legendary class. I don't think that has any precedent.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely does not, and it should not be there. But anyway,
okay, and now I'm going to unleash you, SwingRipper.
I'd like us to go to its level 1 class feature, Mobile Reload. Ron, do you mind reading that text out loud for the chat?
Okay. Oh, I saw a call out to XCOM 1 that that feat was like Overwatch. Woo, XCOM. Okay, Mobile Reload. Oh yeah, I saw this too. Your gun is a part of you, and you learn to reload while performing other actions. You can interact to reload while you step or stride.
No, that's not what it says. It says, whenever you interact to reload, you can also step or stride. This works with the other combination reload actions. Like, if you go into Gunslinger and get one of those special reload actions, you can also
whenever you interact. Yes.
Because this is whenever you interact to reload. So if you have running reload, you could reload and get 2 strides for 1 action.
Right. That needs an errata.
That needs an errata change now. So
yeah,
I get what they were trying to do with this, but if you want to make it cross-compatible with Pathfinder 2E, this needs to be a discrete action.
Yeah,
It needs to be running reload as a class feature.
Yeah, I can see someone familiar with Starfinder 1E or Pathfinder 1E thinking in this way. This is kind of like how it read, and a similar ability read in 1E.
I'm just pointing that out as that is something we do not want to have touch the game.
Okay.
Because that will make this way more mobile than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
You have separate hand sets of guns that are unloaded, so you can swap the handset and reload to run away faster.
They also get... Oh, yeah, as a free action. It doesn't cost anymore. Yeah. Okay, on the move, as a bonus, status bonus to speed, so further making my case, you have an obsession about wrestling. I have an obsession about the Tailwind spell.
Yeah.
Making all of these class features irrelevant. But this one gives you a status bonus to your speed, and you can do tactical advance. You can stride up to half your speed without triggering reactions.
And this is a discrete action.
Huh?
And this is a discrete action. So
Yes.
this is not something that applies to all your strides.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is that, given my concern about how strong this is, and that there's a melee option.
Mobility.
Huh?
Rogue has this as a passive feat called mobility. This is not broken.
It's passive now?
It's a passive on
No,
Rogue.
isn't that a feat for the rogue?
It's a feat for Rogue, but this is not something that is unheard of.
Oh, no.
And it also has Flourish trait for some reason.
Okay, actually, I don't think this by itself is overpowered. What I'm concerned about is that, given that ranged enemies are much more mobile, can fly, there's kind of an inherent advantage to ranged attacks. A little more, I think, in Starfinder. And the Solarian is our dedicated melee class, and they don't have any bonus to their movement. They need to move up to an enemy to make a melee strike.
They do, depending on their subclass.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll be corrected when we get to it.
They have gap closing feats and stuff. They have other stuff in there.
Okay. That's a concern I'll just register, and hopefully it's addressed.
With expert and strikes, with a way to steroid boost their damage, with extra move speed built in, and I think that this needs a balance pass to cut things, wholeheartedly cut certain parts of it out, and I think tactical advance should just be mobility as well, and that should just be a feat the class can pick up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not against this class having more mobility. I think it's on theme. They have bonus skill feats at 3rd, 7th, and 15th levels. Those are the perfect times to get bonus skill feats because of the way proficiency works. They get Operative's Edge at 7th level. They get a bonus to initiative rolls. Kind of like the Fighter Battle Surveyor.
The same thing as the Incredible Initiative feat as well, the general feat.
Yeah, and this stacks with it too. It goes up to +3 if you have that feat. You get Legendary at 13th level with guns. Critical Aim stood out to me, 15th level. The first time in a round when you use your aim action and do a ranged strike, you get your critical specialization effect, even if it's not a critical hit.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anything else on the Operative?
They have a lot of feats, and a lot of their feats are very short but very powerful. So I think that they need to have a pass go through their class chassis, move more stuff into feats, more or less, because they should not have Ranger Flurry on top of Fighter Accuracy on top of the damage boost innately.
Mm-hmm.
That is simply too much.
Okay.
Their class chassis is very overloaded as it stands, and I think that it will push out every other martial class design, period.
Yeah, they have precision damage and
that
accuracy.
Scales like sneak attack.
What's that?
They have precision damage that scales like sneak attack.
Uh-huh.
They have fighter weapon accuracy. They have increased mobility.
They're more likely to crit, and they can have that extra attack off turn with that hair trigger one.
And then eventually, they get Ranger multi-attack penalties.
Yeah. Okay. Strong.
Very, very strong. In its current state, it is overtuned. But does have very, very fun feats. I'm pretty sure, 360 no-scope is a 14th level feat. That lets you parkour and then aim, and fire strike. And the whole thing.
You
but
parkour? That's a capital P?
It has parkour as a capital P action.
What? There's a parkour feat? I learned there's a parkour gym in my city, which I want to join. Okay, parkour. You can stride and do a leap.
Once per round.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, we're getting a little behind. Let's go to the Solarian. You are a conduit for the stellar forces of the cosmos, a solar knight. So basically, I'm going to give an overview. This is actually quite more complex in play, so I'm going to try to explain here. You can be either unattuned or attuned to your photon element, which is like the power of stars to emit energy. It's more destructive. Or attuned to the graviton side, which is gravity themed and usually deals with controlling your foes.
Correction. They both do similar damage. In fact, photon is usually lower damage, but has better rider effects such as dazzled or making people off guard. Graviton is very good at doing forced movement. Usually has a slightly shorter range, but higher damage.
Yes. And so you start combat in one of these modes, depending on your subclass. There are 3 subclasses. There's balanced, where you get to choose whether you are graviton or photon or neither when combat starts. There's degradant, which is graviton, and there is radiant, which is photon. And whenever you leave your favored state, if you have one, you get to spend the attune action to return to it, and you want to be attuned to activate certain powers. You can, even if your subclass is photon focused, you can commit your exploration activity to be something else, so that you start combat that way. You have 3 solar manifestations on your person. Solar Flare is a mote of solar power on you that can be used for this ranged attack called Solar Shot. It has the attuned trait, which means you must be attuned to graviton or photon to do this. And it does, depending on which one you're attuned to. This is what Sean said. The graviton one does bludgeoning damage. And on a crit, you can trip your foe using athletics. And
we did it.
Yeah. And photon does a little less damage, but has a 30-foot range as opposed to 15. And on critical success, it causes persistent fire damage. When you shoot this, you stay attuned to whatever you're in. First edition was a little more complicated. You accrued points of attunement within one of the phases. They've abandoned accumulating points and being fully attuned when you gain 3 points. That's all gone. The second manifestation you have on you is a solar nimbus, which protects you like a shield. And when you are attuned, the attuned trait, you can, as a reaction, if you are dealt damage from a melee attack, you can either try to push the foe away from you if you are graviton attuned, or if you are photon attuned, make them take fire damage equal to half your level, rounded up. Your third manifestation is a solar weapon, and it's a customizable weapon that can have 2 traits from this list. You can spend 10 minutes to recustomize it. You can either choose 2 traits from this list or choose the reach trait, which counts as 2. And I'm going to point out that agile is not on this list. Yeah. And also you can determine what weapon group it's part of. And depending on how you're attuned, if you're graviton attuned, when you successfully strike a creature, that creature treats all squares adjacent to it as difficult terrain. When you are photon attuned, you deal additional fire damage equal to half your level, rounded up. And your solar weapon can get crystals to enhance it the way weapon runes can. What were you going to say?
And that's why you'd want to pick stuff like the grapple and trip trait instead of freehand, because then you'd get the item bonus if you don't have something like lifting belt or some other item bonus to athletics. But yeah, it does have grapple trait, so therefore we're gonna play the soundboard and.
I feel like you're like a lobbyist for the wrestler lobby, speaking on everything. Okay, so I think that's that, but there's more. Your Solarian arrangement is your subclass, and I'm going to point out the main first level abilities of each. Balanced gives you... Okay, each of them gives you an initial ability and a skill, okay? Binaric Assault, if you are balanced, requires you to be attuned, and here you make a strike with your solar weapon and a solar shot, both at the same accuracy. This costs 2 actions, so it's like double slice for the fighter. And they count as 2 attacks for calculating your multiple attack penalty. If your attack hits, resolve the damage and effects, then swap your current attunement. Mm-hmm. So you switch to the other. I assume if you're Photon, you become Graviton. But that's only if the attack hits. If both attacks fail, you become unattuned instead. Okay, that's that. Degradant is Black Hole. You spend 2 actions. You're limited to once per 10 minutes. And you select creatures within a 30-foot radius. They take bludgeoning damage and can be pulled towards you. That's really cool. If they critically fail, they're knocked prone. This has the cycle trait, which means that when you use it, you switch to the opposite attunement. So that was the question I had. How are you ever the opposite if you are if you are Degradant and by default Graviton? When you use Black Hole, you become Photon attuned after you use Black Hole. I think that's cool thematically. Radiant gives you Supernova. You choose a 15-foot emanation to affect creature. Huh?
Or 30 foot.
15 foot for 1d8 damage, and 30 foot for 1d6 damage. And they can be dazzled or blinded. Blinded on regular failure is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Resentment Witch says hi.
Oh. Okay. The pain.
Now suddenly it's a lot less okay.
Yeah. Well, that's a problem for the Resentment Witch, not our dear Solarian. So that was my explanation. Thoughts, Sean?
Me when I critical fail Supernova and I don't get to play the game.
Oh, Supernova. What does it say? Blinded for a minute. God damn.
You just don't get to play the game anymore. You just lose. Once per 10 minutes, if they crit fail, they lose. Period. GG, shake my hand. Generally, I think that this class has good sauce in it. Like, I think it would be a good addition to the game as is. I need to look at its feats a bit more heavily. Nothing really jumped out to me as this is the busted thing that you'd want to play me for. But it has, like, a lot of cool magical activated abilities, and I could see it fitting in well with the rest of the game. And that's kind of my day one feedback. It seems strong, but not overbearing in any specific way. As a utility marshal with a lot of like area damage and various damage types and blah blah blah. So I think that it's going to be good as like the generic melee character. My concern is that the previous class in its current state completely overshadows it in every single way.
Okay. Thematically, I just really love the idea of the Solarian. And they are clearly meant to be the melee fighter of this beta. And with some control and area abilities.
Yep.
Yeah. And they can take... What kind of armor can they wear? Medium armor.
Medium.
Okay.
They get a feat at level 2 that lets them get into heavy. And it requires any initial revelation to take. So... And it works like the War Priest armament type deal.
Uh-huh. You have a hard stop at 7, Sean?
Roughly, yeah.
Okay.
I also want to point out they have Stellar Rush for 2 actions, first level feat. They get to stride twice with a plus 10-foot circumstance bonus to speed. And then based on their attunement, they do an effect and then cycle to the other one. So for Graviton attunement, when they finish the strides, enemies within 15 feet have a fort save or pull directly towards you, ending in an adjacent square if possible.
Oh, that's cool. That's
So
very Defender-y. Just come to me. Is there a way to get reactive strike?
Level 4 feet for them.
Level 4 feet.
Level 4 feet. I said very intentionally.
Which is not
but,
too
is it
off.
a level 2 ranged version of reactive strike? So is it even good?
Right.
I'm just saying.
I'm guessing different individuals and teams worked on it too.
I agree, because this feels like a balanced for the game. The other one didn't.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We have 2 more. We have the soldiers next. Here's our constitution-based class, the master of area weapons, heavy armor, and taking punishment. This is what we saw a field test of, and what you and I saw in action when we were going through Gatewalkers.
And in terms of its early game, the biggest change I noticed was it now has expert in will at level 1. Meaning it is truly only the operative that has only 1 trained skill as a marshal.
Mm-hmm. But we hate the operative. It's OP, so...
The operative has a lot of weirdness in its chassis right now, and it needs to have some of that taken out wholeheartedly.
All right. Okay, they're trained in all armor. They're basically the best at using area weapons. They get advantages using area weapons. We haven't had much time, but area weapons can like attack an area, like launch a bomb, or attack a cone. They usually have one of those 2 abilities, if not both. And they have something called suppressing fire. They get to choose. Those who fail their saving throw. Those are both saving. At least one of them
and
is.
The cone are both saving throws. Yes.
They both call for saving throws.
Because it's an area of effect. You aren't rolling an attack roll, and comparing to all of them, it's a saving throw.
Oh, another reason why they're best at area weapons is that their class DC, which those weapons are keyed off of, can go up to legendary. And
so like Kineticist.
Yes. So Kineticists make the best futuristic area weapon attackers.
We aren't going to talk about that too much, but like, metal Kineticist running in with the super weapons and summoning lightning bolts, it's...
That's cool.
You can do it.
But those who fail their saves...
Kineticist always needs a free hand to use their impulses, so that's not going to work due to hand...
Gotcha. And pretty much all the area things are 2-handed, I think?
Yep.
Okay. Those who fail their saving throw when you use an area attack get the suppressed condition. They have a -1 circumstance penalty on attack rolls and a -10-foot status penalty to speeds. It lasts until the start of your next turn. You also, additionally, while using area attacks with weapons, get to designate 1 creature that is adjacent to the center point of your attack, or if it's a burst, or closest to you in the case of a cone or line attack. And you get to make a strike against that foe, deal damage with it, I believe, yeah. And if you hit, they are suppressed. Okay. They get fighting styles that I'm going to point out. One of them is close quarters, which I think is melee fighting.
Close quarters is one of the melee options. I also want to point out Armor Storm, but close quarters also I wanted to have something to
Oh yes, I know. Okay, go ahead, Sean. I noticed too.
Armor Storm. Your Nova count as being the area of ranged weapon you've made an attack with, and you gain resistance against your suppressed targets. So you throw out your massive area effect, you standing in the middle of it. No, I'm not standing in the middle of it. It happens to hit everybody around me. And then you go for a grapple at +1. Because it gives you that and lets you not even need a free hand to go for a grapple anymore. You just kind of take your gun, wrap it around them, and you can still shoot it.
Uh-huh. Are they the best wrestler in the game now?
No.
Oh.
Because you see, if we're counting this playtest, it is actually Operative, because Operative is the best. Period.
Wait, for the athletics actions?
They can have strength key ability score, they get fighter accuracy, they have incredible mobility to close the gap.
Okay. Yeah.
It's hard to argue anything else as being better than them in any way.
Yeah, the opportunity cost of getting map on your attack is less. Is that what you're thinking about?
Oh, not even that. They have fighter accuracy, combat grab, plus in.
Oh, they have combat
incredible
grab?
mobility. You can go it from wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
when you're
talking about
mixing
as
it with
wrestler.
wrestler. Okay. All right.
They're the best grappler if you're mixing with wrestler. If we're talking about grapplers as just main class, then fighter is the best grappler.
All right.
Because combat grab is so good.
Okay, so that subclass that allowed you to use the strength, allowed you to use. You know what I'm trying to say, chat.
Yeah,
okay.
and it gives you the fighter accuracy and weaponry, which is going to.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing matters at that point.
All right. Bombard is like the friendly bomber. You get to exclude allies from your bombs and make foes suppressed even when they regularly succeed on their saving throws. Close quarters lets you suppress a target with a two-handed weapon and gives you punitive strike. When a creature, the same triggers as reactive strike, but you can disrupt a move action instead of a manipulate action, I believe.
And it ignores unwieldy.
Right. Unwieldy is a trait that some weapons have where you can only use it once per turn and not outside your turn.
Yep.
But this ignores that.
And that's going to be all the best two-hand weapons are going to be like that. Generally, there's only one Starfinder weapon that did D12, and it was an unwieldy.
Mm-hmm.
So, generally, the Starfinder 2 weapons feel slightly weaker than their Pathfinder equivalents in terms of the melee weapons. Ranged weapons, of course, feel stronger.
Okay. Action hero, any weapon with automatic trait, those are the ones that do area attacks.
Some of the area attacks are from those with the auto fire, but that's the cone. So the cone area weapons are good for them.
You can suppress a target with a regular strike as an action hero. In addition, when you use auto fire, which is the cone option, you can make it the size. You can make the cone's length the full range increment instead of half. And you can designate a target even not close. A target who is not the closest to you as your primary target. Okay, then Walking Armory lets you carry more bulk and lets you use your Constitution instead of your Strength to determine how much you can hold. And Fearsome Bulwark lets you use your Constitution mod for intimidation checks. And your Strength... Oh.
Don't worry, it doesn't say grapple. I'm not excited.
Right. In place of your strength for reposition or shove. They are tough defensively. I'm going to point out at 7th level, they get armor expertise. So expert in their defenses. And tough as nails. They get to treat successes as critical successes on fortitude saves. Soldier Mastery, 15th level, their class DC becomes Master. 19th level becomes Legendary. Anything else on the Soldier, Sean?
Has Champion armor scaling all the way to 17. Gets Legendary and fort saves.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Witchwarper, shall we?
It's a tank class that has area damage. That's its niche. It does its niche well. It doesn't start randomly going outside of its niche with one subclass to become the best wrestler.
And they take punishment. They're like, punish me. Okay, and you know that's an amount they debuff with that suppression.
Also,
causing enemies to have -1 is pretty important.
And you're doing
add that with rallying
defense when
defense.
you're doing it already. So, Guardian, right? Life support.
Yeah. Okay, Witchwarper, what everyone wanted to hear the most about, but we have 10 minutes left. A strange paradoxical event forever altered your existence, and now you can manipulate reality. They're an 8 hit point class.
Yep.
No one is below 8 hit points in this playtest. Intelligence is their main attribute. They are spellcasters. They can have 4 slots per spell rank. They are spontaneous. There is no Vancian spellcasting in Starfinder that I can see. Their paradox is their subclass. They also get an anchor, which is another choice. Their paradox is like theme-wise, it's something that makes them weird. Maybe they came from another dimension, or they touched something that was a time-glitching alien device, or they developed a thesis on quantum magical theory. Their anchor is something that keeps them grounded and helps them remove debuffs from themselves. We'll see those options in a sec. Their main core mechanic is quantum field. They spend an action to warp reality. They create a 15-foot radius burst within 100 feet, and it is something that needs to be sustained. It has no effect stated here, but your subclass will give you an effect, and your feats can give you more effects. When your quantum field is active, you can use actions that have the anchor ring trait, which, moreover, when you use those anchoring actions, they act as sustain. No big surprises in Witchwarper spellcasting. I'll point out that their focus spells, called warp spells, which their subclass will provide them at level 1, they can only be used when you have your quantum field active, because they have the anchoring trait. But it also means that you don't have to sustain your quantum field in a round when you cast a warp spell. Their class features are... at 19th level, the radius of their quantum field becomes 100 feet, which is pretty amazing. Let's look at some of the paradoxes, the subclasses. The analyst they give you access to the arcane tradition or the occult tradition. Those are the 2 tradition choices for the Witchwarper. Warp probability, I believe, is a reaction to... it's like a fortune effect on your saving throw or something, or when someone attacks you. Ooh, someone can help me here. Boop, boop, boop.
Warp probability? I don't know what you're looking for.
It's a focus spell.
Oh, the focus spell. So that's a different part of the book.
Warp probability. When you fail on an attack roll or saving throw, you get to re-roll and use the better result. Quantum field. When you seek or recall knowledge, you can apply the result against 2 things. They have to be creatures, hazards, unattended objects, or effects within your quantum field. So 2 for 1 sale. And whenever you sustain your quantum field, you can seek or recall knowledge against an appropriate target within the field. So action economy. Anomaly, arcane themed. You can warp terrain. This basically is a focus spell that lets you make the area difficult terrain, or if it has difficult terrain, you can make it non-difficult. And your allies can move through the terrain normally and take cover normally. Sorry, I'm mixing this all up. If you make it difficult terrain, you and your allies can walk through it normally and can take cover using its features. Okay. And you get to add smoke at higher levels, make it greater difficult terrain at higher levels. So that's cool. That's a control effect. Their quantum field, you can make everybody, fill it with distractions, and anyone who does a concentrate action within it must do a DC 5 flat check or it's disrupted. Gap influence is an occult themed one. Their quantum field makes you conceal to creatures within your quantum field, and if a creature within the field hits you, you lose this benefit against that creature temporarily. And their focus spell is also to protect your own, protect you specifically. It makes you concealed. If an enemy targets you with a strike or spell attack, you become concealed against that creature's attacks for a round. That sounds like an overlap. Does that do more than your field? If you were already concealed, you become undetected instead, it says. Damn.
Ooh. Undetected? Not even hidden? Just undetected?
Apparently.
But they would know that you didn't use a move action.
Yeah, I always read invisibility spells say that. Nothing stops them from targeting a square. I always wonder why they say undetected. That's the success, but I'm not going to read the rest because time's short. Precog is also occult themed, and they can warp time with their focus spell. This, you temporarily alter the timeline. One action, you get to rewind. You get to do one of two things. You get to rewind your personal timeline and gain 10 temporary hit points for a minute. Or you can fast forward. You accelerate the personal timeline of a creature in your quantum field to the end of its natural life cycle, and they take void damage and can become enfeebled. Their quantum field, you can give enemies a penalty to speeds and give allies a bonus to speed while within it. So that's my boring overview. What do you want to say, Sean?
I actually don't have that much to say about the Witchwarper. It just kind of feels like a very strong caster, given the new baseline for casters we see, where 4 slot is not such a highly coveted thing.
I think a lot of it's in the feats, which we kind of can't get into. I feel.
But like I think it's a good class. Like I mean, I haven't looked into it any more heavily, but just being a 4 slot caster with 8 HP and a gimmick that does something makes it a strong class.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the intelligence skills in general are stronger this time around. So I think that being int-oriented is actually pretty damn good in Starfinder 2. So I think that this will definitely be a strong class. It has a spot in the meta, and, you know, it does good stuff.
All right.
I don't really have that much I want to scream about this time, unlike the, you know, I had a lot of stuff to say about the Operative, and I didn't even finish doing my string of.
All right. Can we say 5 more minutes, Sean, and then end?
Yeah, we can do 5 more minutes. I'm not going to really go too hard on the Operative. I think people can read that themselves and think about how it would compare to Fighter, Gunslinger, etc. And I'm kind of worried about design space opportunities if that class is printed as is.
I wasn't able to focus on chat throughout, so I'm going to focus on it more. But yeah, this is time for just final thoughts and questions. I was overall, except for the Operative, I was overall impressed. They all seemed like sound designs power-wise, and they all do different things. I would like to see a party with all 6 classes. I have nothing else groundbreaking at the moment, but I'll think of more things.
I definitely say, I think that the change to the skills game is what interests me the most compared to the new classes. Because, like, the new classes feel like just strong additions to the game. A little bit tweaking and they'll be, like, great. Because, like, I would say that out of them, I think that the Solarian needs a little bit more attention to make sure that it has a spot in the range-focused meta they want to make. Because right now, it's like range attacks are a range of 30 feet at most. So it can get kited still, which is more range than like normal marshals would have. But, you know, it's still like...
I think they should get more mobility if it's not already there.
And I think that they should get more stuff from Flash Chassis, but I mean, that's my thing. And I think Operative should have less stuff.
I'm going to point out for viewers that there are some... the schedule for Gen Con, things that stood out to me that are coming up that'll be relevant to people watching. Tomorrow, there is a panel called the Starfinder 2E Roadmap, where they're going to talk about their overall thoughts designing it. That's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow. On Saturday, at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, they were calling their panel, What Makes a Good Playtest? And I am thinking it might be a dig against WotC because, well, anyway.
I think it's probably a dig against creators giving first react videos like this and coloring everybody's opinions for the future. Sorry, Paizo.
But they're going to talk about but I want them to show everybody how it's done, and I'm very happy with how this is. We didn't go over every one of these classes has a sidebar about what questions they had for themselves and what they wanted feedback on specifically from people playtesting the classes, which I appreciate. But they're talking about why they designed this playtest the way they did and why they're doing what they're doing. So that's going to be interesting to watch. And the other one was 1 hour after that, the Pathfinder Remaster Retrospective, where they talk about the entire remaster and also what's coming up ahead in Pathfinder.
Sounds like a great time. I have to get going.
Okay,
so
cool.
I'm gonna say subscribe to Ron's channel, subscribe to my channel. I just posted.
I'm gonna put a link to your channel in my on this video stream. Okay. But yeah, I think this is we put out a good overview of the playtest, Sean. Yay us.
For how quick we had to do it, I think we did a good job for turnaround time. But for now, I need to pack. And
all right, thank you, Sean. And thank you, chat, for continue your comments in my. You can leave, Sean. Continue your comments, chat, to the extent it lets you, but also under the video itself. And if you haven't yet, join my Discord, which I believe is linked in the video description already, where we do have a dedicated Starfinder 2E channel under Paizo 2E category. Okay, join my Discord, go under the channel role taking if it doesn't ask you when you join already, so that you can give yourself the role Paizo 2nd edition. That will reveal the Starfinder 2E channel for you. Okay, that's it. Thank you, everybody. See you later.